Major Kira thinks holosuite programs are a waste of time. Odo cosplays a duffel bag. And Garrick is completely honest with Sisko for the first time ever. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are joined by the most special of all guests, Nana Visitor.
Hey, guys.
We're also joined by the other most special of guests, Malissa Longo.
Hi.
Hey. And today we are reviewing Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 5, Second Skin, directed by the infamous Les Landau, written by our good friend, Mr. Robert Hewitt Wolf. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Doing good.
Awesome.
Doing good. When we spoke with Robert about this episode coming up, he wanted to send an apology to you again, saying that he was sorry that he made you wear this makeup for this episode.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It came flooding back to me as I watched the episode. I hadn't watched this episode since it aired, so it was really all new to me. But yeah, being called in at 1 a.m. and the rest of you guys in at 7 a.m. And then the day starts. I remember I gave poor Les Landau a horrible time. I think it was probably that night at about 10 or 11, I cracked. I couldn't take it anymore. I was claustrophobic. The nose piece went over my nose so that I could feel I don't know why this freaks me out. It's hard with a mask these days too. When your own breath goes back at you, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Freaked out. I started taking the pieces off, saying, "That's it. That was your last shot." I'm saying this because I think he knew I was losing it, and somehow we got through the rest of the night. But it was, yeah, that was tough. But watching it, well worth it.
But that was like a 20-hour, 22-hour day is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And having claustrophobia for that length of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts to get you.
And then at just some point, you're just like, I can't do this anymore. I have to breathe.
Yeah. Yep. It just, well, and again, we've talked about this before, Cirroc, but the days were so long, it wasn't like, okay, I've got this job and I'm due in at 1 a.m. That was after 2.5 years of day in, day out, sleep deprivation. So you're already starting with an empty tank, and you're already half out of your mind. So that doesn't help.
I was looking at you in this episode, and they have the chin prosthetics to kind of square up your jaw a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they have the piece, I guess it goes over your ears. And then obviously the wig as well. So it's
And the neck, yeah.
Yeah, and the neck.
Yeah. I mean,
was it the nose that bothered you the most, or?
It seemed, now tell me if I'm wrong, but it seemed more elaborate than the other Cardassians. It seemed like I had more. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it was, oh my God, it was a lot. It was a lot. But again, he wrote such a great script, and it had such a great message, and it was such a great opportunity. It was like, to me, I'll just say, watching it, I thought it was kind of classic Trek in that it was a standalone. You got it. There was racism on both sides, and boom, now she's the thing that she hates most. Now what?
Right. Something I noticed too was that Major Kira now has officially a soft spot for 2 Cardassians so far where we are. The first one was Duet, and now it's this guy.
She's got a thing for old, like father. She does. But Bajoran ones, she burns their house down. Remember the older guy? It's like, but yeah, she's got this father-daughter thing going on. Obviously, but 2 Cardassians. That's an important move in her arc for how she moves away from racism
Mm-hmm.
until she's finally working with Cardassians.
Right.
You know, one thing that stands out to me also watching this episode, it basically has been clear to me up until this point, now the third season, 5th episode, that you're the star of the show, because you've had the most centric episodes with your character, and I think the ones that stand out the most are your episodes so far up until this point. So I'm just pleasantly surprised because I didn't realize this, because obviously I wasn't in some of these episodes. I didn't really film, and I didn't know how much your character was just like the most prominent character in the show. I wanted to know if they did, like, if you got the support of the women's groups and things of that nature that said, let's elevate this woman because she's really a strong female character and let's get behind her. Was there any of that going on?
First of all, I appreciate you saying that. Still watching the show, I look at Avery in those scenes and I go, there's our star. I mean, I just simply feel that way. But I got no support. I got zero. At that time, it wasn't a popular, it made everyone a little bit, my character, people were uncomfortable with what I was doing. It was that's not really what we want to see. So no, I didn't. And from women, I would get, you don't have to have the strength of a man. You don't have to be tough. And I just wouldn't go into, but you have to look at the circumstance she's in. You have to look at what her life was. This was a fighter. She was a fighter. That makes a difference. It's not like she's got an easy life. But no, pretty much everyone steered clear. It was only like maybe 5 years ago that I got an inkling of people going, hey, you know what? Your character was the first one that I saw do such and such. And that was the first time I went, because I just kind of kept I really believed what I was doing was right, but I kept my head down and I didn't listen too much because not much of it was good, what I was hearing in terms of feedback.
You know, to piggyback off what Cirroc was saying about Major Kira being the star of the show, it just kind of made me realize that where we are now, the 5th episode of the 3rd season, it does seem as though Major Kira has had the biggest character arc so far, the most character development, in that it was just 2 or 3 episodes ago, Cirroc, you and I were talking about how there was this moment between Kira and Sisko, which was the first time I saw Kira talking to Sisko in a softer tone, as if talking to him a little bit more as a friend than as, you know, a boss or even competition initially. You know, there was almost a little bit of hostility before. And so at this juncture, Kira's had the most character development of any of the characters. We're seeing a little bit with Bashir as well and Garrick as well, but I think Kira for sure.
Which I'm totally fine with, because Nana, you are killing all these performances, like hands down. There's nobody that can really do what you've done better than what you've done it. The intensity in the eyes, the quickness with the wit, and just how you hold your own against anybody. I don't care which character, what guest stars we bring in or what regular characters we have. You're tough, and I love it.
Thank you. God, thank you. That means so much you can't imagine. And of guest stars, Larry Pressman, huh?
Yes.
He was so hard to make yourself likable underneath all that stuff.
Yes.
And you felt so much for him. Plus, it's worth mentioning that when you jump on a show like this, that it's one thing, you're used to the pace, you're used to the language, you're used to the makeup. He just jumped in, and it was like, you wouldn't even think, oh, the guy's having a hard time with his makeup. You didn't even consider that. It was wild.
That's true. You know, one last thought about makeup. I know Melissa's got a lot of thoughts on this episode, but one last thought on makeup was I've also had prosthetics on my face a lot of times, and you never know if it's going to bother you until you just do it. You go like, well, I'm assuming it should be okay. And to my surprise and luck, it didn't bother me at all, you know, no matter how many hours, you know, fully done up. But it did get to me when they were taking it off, because once you're done and they say, okay, time to get it off, you think it's gonna be like, okay, great, moving on, hello world. But really it takes, you know, 30, 45, an hour for them to take it off, but you're already in makeup off mode. So that's when it kind of started to stress me out a little bit, when I'm just like, can you get this?
Hurry up and get this thing off.
Yeah, it's killing me now. I don't know if you had anything like that, or if it was just terrible the whole way through.
It was pretty much terrible the whole way through. They tried to put Quark's head on me for the next episode, and I went, I can't. I stressed from being a Kardashian, so they got a body double. But I think that what you're talking about, the time it takes, it took me 20 minutes to get my nose off. But at 2 a.m, I'd be like, oh my God, no. And I used to rip it off. Well, I've got a mark here from it that I have to do extra makeup every day. Because the first year I did it, and then the second year I went, wow, I'm not going to have a nose if I keep doing that. So I stopped pulling it off. But yeah, I have red marks all over here. Yeah,
for me it was the eyelids. I only did that once though. Like, I am not ripping this off my eyelids. They can't take it.
That's great.
Melissa
made a good Cardassian too.
That would be fun to play a Cardassian.
You've already got the hair going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see her as a Romulan with the bowl cut.
That would be fun too.
Being all sinister.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something, Nana. You said that this episode was like a classic Trek episode, and I want to second that opinion, because I was watching this with the same kind of mindset, thinking this is classic Trek. They take the things that we're comfortable with and then make you uncomfortable.
Right.
And they play on the same, like, for example, your character being, you know, this freedom fighter, and then they put you on the other side of the team, and you having to deal with the emotions of processing, you know, there somebody on the opposite side calling you friend or daughter, and I just thought it's a classic way that Trek deals with these kinds of themes and these issues. They always, I think Robert Hewitt Wolf said, whatever the audience expects, we do the opposite of.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like having an egg beater in your brain for a minute. It's like, no, you can't think about it this way, because we're going to make you come around the other side to look at this whole subject. And I do think it was classic, and also a standalone. I understood last night exactly what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
And what they were trying to get across.
You know, to touch on the writing a bit more too, it's always impressive the way the Deep Space Nine writers find a way to incorporate so many elements that are necessary for it to be a good script. You know, the twist at the end, even if you know where it's going, even if you successfully predict where it's going to go, you don't know how it's going to get there. And or they create this element, which it would have been just as easy for Major Kira to be a Cardassian, for her to learn lessons and escape. But they put that twist in that they're not trying to get Kira, they're trying to get Iliana's father. And, you know, suddenly we learn so much more about him, and this is totally unexpected. There's no way we could have expected it. And these are just all the little things that separate, you know, like a good script from a great one, I think.
And by the way, I noticed that all that information had to be delivered by Kira in one speech, the twist. And yet the writing is so good, you don't really notice it. It's like, oh, okay, now we're up to, that makes sense. You're discovering at the same time she does, and it doesn't feel like one of those horrible things where someone's got a gun in a scene and they say, this is why I'm killing you. You did this and this and forever. And it's like, no, just kill them.
Yeah, right. My master plan was to get you in this room and tie to a chair. The bomb will explode in 30 minutes. And you're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Squeeze it all in.
It was very natural and boom, and they didn't waste. There was no fat in
Right.
episode.
They couldn't afford it.
You know, I don't think I ever really understood that Garrick was being outed as this super spy.
Really?
I know. I wasn't that aware. I kind of, when we filmed it, it was like, oh yeah, right, okay. But now I go, oh my God.
Well, where you shined in the A storyline, I think Andrew Robinson shined in the B storyline, and he completely nailed his performance as Garrick, I thought, in this episode, giving us more of what we love, this kind of shady, mysterious, is he on our side, is he on their side kind of performance. But I want to go to the scene that Ryan has in his backdrop behind him, which is the scene where you're looking at yourself in the mirror. And I really love that scene. I wrote down here, fantastic acting. I loved it. Because you look at yourself and it's like, you know, this is not me, but this is me now. And I registered all that in that performance, in that mirror on the wall type moment.
I also love the idea that, and it's true for the plasticity of our brains, that, okay, take this sentient being and program this in her. That's the way she's going to think. Program that. So, you know, just the idea that thoughts have so much power and that we can change them. And that's what she finally does as Kira. She changes her own thought about this man that was her father and sees it as there was something about the bracelet, the preciousness of the bracelet that made it was like actually physicalizing the compassion that he gave her, right, and she can now give him.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good point.
Yeah, this belonged to your mother, and it really summed up all of those emotions in like a tangible object. And you get to see that switch where she begins to soften in her stance a little bit. I love the interrogation scene when they start trying to get you to tell, you know, how many people are on the ship and tell us what's going on Deep Space Nine. And you give like the best lie. You pass it off so good that I had to double check. I was like, no, they let her in ops. Don't they let her in ops? Like, I was saying to myself, this can't be true. She's like, yeah, there's 30 to 40,000 of them, you know?
Yeah. Fact check.
And I was like, is there really that many people? So I was actually, you were so good at the interrogation scene that just completely like playing with them. And that's just another thing you do so well is you sell these moments. And, you know, sometimes I watch my performances, I say, wow, I suck. But every time, oh, I do. And, or I don't believe that. Sometimes I'll look at it and say, you know what? I don't really believe me that much. But
Cirroc, I gotta
watch you
as a child act has to be one of the toughest things ever. How can you do it? I can barely watch myself in anything ever at any point in time. But if I watch myself as a child, oh my God, it would be really hard not to come down hard on myself.
I do come down.
Yeah, I'm sure
it's not easy because I didn't really have much reference to go to, and now I'm looking at it with an adult mind, so it's really more critical. But I watch you, and I believe what you're going through, and that to me is the sign of great acting. Is, do I believe you or not? Have you sold me on the fact that you're this person or not? And I never question whether I believe Kira or not. It's like I'm totally bought in on that,
I love that. Thank you, sir.
That's awesome.
You know, we've got a few minutes left before we take our break for our second segment. Melissa, I wanted to ask you very quickly, because when I saw Kira as a Cardassian, my first thought was, oh, she looks pretty good. It works, you know, with her bone structure, because sometimes we've seen certain characters becoming a different race. You know, later on we see like poor O'Brien as a Klingon, which just looked very, I don't know if you remember that, but it just did, oh, I was just like, this poor guy. But with you, it worked. And I, you know, Melissa, I believe you said Kira was your favorite character, and I want to know like what you thought of her as a Cardassian. Did it work for you, or were you like, give me back my Kira?
I've always give me back my Kira, but I think this worked because I believe the struggle that she went through. She was a Bajoran, and I love the strength of her convictions. She's always committed into what she throws herself into, but at the same time, she's open to learning and absorbing and trying to figure out where the truth is, and what she's always, I took that she was always trying to be a better version of herself, which is why I liked Kira's character so much. It's because she started one way in episode 1, and she had all these walls up, and she's, you know, gung-ho against everyone in the entire universe. And those walls start to crumble because of the great storytelling throughout all the seasons. So that's what I liked. And I liked that she was strong, and she was, you know, because you didn't see that much on television. So as a teenager watching it,
yeah,
I was like, yeah, why can't I see more women like this?
Yeah.
You know, it's somebody's willing to fight for what they believe in. And so that's what I always liked. And I liked the growth in this episode, and how you feel for Iliana's father, because he's just as broken, and he's lost just as much as everyone else in the resistance, and the way they connect on that is really great to see as well. And Kira gave him a gift in accepting the bracelet, and, you know, that was for his daughter, that was her mother's, and yeah, so yeah, I
think we all just like listening to you talk, Melissa. We all just kind of got quiet and just like listen to story time. We do have to take our break very quickly, and we'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, Nana Visitor, and Melissa Longo. We are reviewing Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 5, Second Skin. And, very quickly, let's knock out these trivioids that didn't make the cut. We said Major Kira thinks holosuite programs are a waste of time. By the way, there was some really good lines in there. When Quark says, oh, you know, if maybe you haven't found the right holosuite, yeah, you know, I could. And you said, you could, but you'd live to regret it.
Yeah.
Also, Cardassian records clearly indicate that Akira Nerys was held. That's not funny. The Klystrons have developed a new burn treatment technology that has to be seen to be believed. Just interesting. Why Tepa delivers Major Kira to the Cardassians. She was the lady with the bisected, you know, the thing on her head. I was like, who is this lady? So I looked her up. Her name's Why Tepa, whoever she is. Legate to Kenny, Gamor isn't such a bad guy after all. Kira's mother was an icon painter from the Dakar province, Dakur. Dax can make your comm image look like a 3,000-ton screech rhino if you want her to. And Odo cosplays a duffel bag, we know, which was my favorite.
Yeah.
Nobody else's.
Nobody
Clearly.
else is there.
Obviously.
But you know, it's funny because there was a line that Garrick said during all the commotion at the climax when he compliments Kira and how beautiful she is as a dance, right? It just comes out of nowhere. He's like, might I say, you know, you're looking pretty beautiful over there. And I love that little just throw in. I don't know how they did it, but it was just great to throw that in there.
Yeah.
There were a lot of really good lines in this.
There were a lot
episode.
of good lines in there. Yeah.
Every once in a while you find one and you're like, oh, I want to write this down. But this one just had too many to write down because there are so many good ones like the one we just mentioned, especially the way you delivered it, Nana. You'd live to regret it.
Yeah, that's something along those lines was my standard line to Quark always. It was like, or you'll take that hand off my hip, or you'll never see that hand, or you'll never lift a glass with it again. Something like that. It was always like, cut, done, you're goodbye with Quark. It was a good one.
What do you think, Nana, that happened in the last, you said about 5 years ago, people started to shift and really kind of acknowledge Kira as the strong female character that she was. What do you think it was that happened culturally, shifting wise, that made people like say, oh, well, we forgot about this?
Well, I think when it came back on Netflix and people saw it again, they had been fed for a long time on much, seeing women in much different roles than, back 25 years ago. So they were okay with it. They were more familiar with it. And I think that it was the first time that a lot of people saw Deep Space Nine. Being serialized back then, it was hard to watch. It was hard to find. So just being able to, binge watch it on Netflix, it really, I think that was the best way to watch the show. And I think that's what made the difference.
Yeah. And I would add to that culturally, we've kind of accepted that women have a broader view of, what they're capable of and what we expect out of them. And they're not sort of pigeonholed into this one stereotype of, the housewife or the woman that's soft and delicate. And now we're starting, yeah.
Man, you're the girlfriend, you're the killer, you're the other woman, you're the wife, It wasn't, it was always in relation to a man.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then, the other thing is that at least from my understanding in the Star Trek community, a lot of the people credit Kate Mulgrew for being the strong female lead in Star Trek that has, set that trend. But after watching you now these first 3 seasons, clearly you're the person that started this strong female character on Star Trek, in my opinion. I mean, maybe you guys can...
No, that's right. Uhura was the first, but she was not portrayed in a similar light. Crusher and Troy, had their strengths, but not that kind of strength. And Tasha Yar was close to that, but she didn't even last an entire first season before she was gone. And so, you're right that Major Kira was the first consistent, strong female character in Star Trek.
And then it was a great progression to put a woman, in charge of the ship. That was fantastic. And then it just seemed like it was, I feel like Kira broke the ice for a lot of stuff, which needed to be broken. And it was great. It was really great.
You did the legwork.
I'm proud to have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing that doesn't really always come along with the legwork is the credit, and that's why it should be credited. The work that you did and the excellence of it. I just want to make sure we keep hammering that away for everybody who's listening. They need to know how brilliant you were, because you are off the chain. One of the best. You can't get better than how you did deliver what you did on that show.
I agree. I agree with Cirroc.
Yeah.
I think it's coming. Like what you're saying, Nana, you're getting that credit eventually, right? It's
where were the
finally
Emmy
coming 20 years
like
later, you know?
We have a system in this business where people get recognized for their performances and they get nominated for awards, and that's why we have the Emmys and and all these other awards. And I just feel like, how did Kira not get nominated for these performances in these episodes? They're great.
Science fiction doesn't get recognized regardless.
Well, it does for makeup. It does for wardrobe.
Makeup was what I was going to say. That's the one where science fiction does do well with Emmys and awards. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe now that'll change too. I mean, there's so much science fiction and there's so much great science fiction. I've got to believe that people will win for it. I mean, I now it seems to be that's what the big blockbusters at the moment. Now let's see, after this interesting pause we've all had, what the new movies are about and what they look like. But certainly it was science fiction and fantasy and all these, and hero stuff. That was the one thing you didn't want to do as an actor. You didn't want to touch that stuff because everyone would tell you it will ruin your career. And now it's like, yes, please, let me get something Marvel.
Right.
It's all flipped. It's so weird.
It is flipped.
Nana, if Marvel calls, do you pick up the phone?
I never look. If they call and say we have, the woman who's married to the guy and she's just, kind of behind him, I'd be like, no, it's boring. But I can't imagine a genre that wouldn't be fascinating to me as long as the character was an alive, sentient being. It was like just there's something going on. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting to play. That's the fun part that I love to do. It's fun. It's fun to ask yourself questions. What are you thinking? If you think you're one thing and you're looking in the mirror and seeing something else, how does that mess with you? How much of your identity is your face? You take someone's face away, what have you done to them? Those are the questions that fascinate me.
Mm.
Yeah, you deal with some of that in this episode. Taking your face away.
That's
in this
true.
Episode.
Yeah.
And yet you still shine through those eyes. You still shine through the performance, and that's just a credit to how you perform the scenes.
Cirroc, you usually find one or two lines that you really like above all else. Were there any lines in this one that really stood out to you?
Yes. I like Kira's line when she looks at herself in the mirror and she says, "What have you done to me?" It was a simple line, but it just it really resonated with me. I like Garrick's line when he's talking with the other Cardassian ship and he tells the guy, you were doing your duty, but then he says, yeah, it's something that I overheard while I was tailoring somebody's trousers.
Having some trousers.
And I was like,
that is so Garrick.
It was so Garrick. It was so Garrick. It was like, don't ask me where I get this information from. Just something I overheard,
And this humble, you see him on his knees, hemming pen. Such a humble thing as opposed to super spy.
And he's saying it with no intention of trying to fool anybody, basically slapping people in the face saying, oh, that's all. It was just, me, I'm just this tailor guy. Another line that he said that I really liked was after he shoots the Cardassian that apparently they knew each other. And he goes, a pity, I rather liked him. Cardassians like each other even though they're spitting death words at each other.
Yeah.
Now I have a question. So later in, I'm not sure what episode it is, we discover that my mother was a pleasure lady, the Ducat. But I say in this episode that my mother died of malnutrition when I was 3.
Right.
That's what you were told.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was told.
Mm-hmm.
And she was alive, and got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've got the exact line somewhere, but yeah, you say exactly where she died. Oh, in the Singa refugee camp when I was 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, when we're 3, maybe we don't remember. I don't know. Melissa, what do you think?
Well, no, that's what she was told. So that, it's the story that you're told about your parent who's walked out on you. Well, she didn't walk out, but, he died in a car crash or what have you, when really she was...
Cardassians took him. Ducat.
Yeah.
Right.
Ducat.
Ah, that guy.
That guy Ducat. Yeah. Just when you start to like him.
Well,
you find out he kidnapped your mother and used her as a sex slave.
But other than that,
he's not a bad guy. No, the other line I liked is when Garrick says, "Commander, this is extortion."
Yes.
And Sisko's like, yeah, it is actually.
Beautiful. Perfectly delivered too.
Yeah, it was.
And I like that as well. So there was a few lines that I liked.
Melissa, I know you said you watched this episode not quite as recently as we have, but were there any parts or lines that stood out to you?
I don't know that I can remember.
I know.
No, I remember, well, and I always think this when I see the episode, and I love Deep Space Nine for the reason that I can immerse myself when I actually watch and get lost in what's happening. So I'm always like, no, she's not. What's the catch? So yes, I talk to the television when I'm watching television, and I get angry and I cry, and but it's like, no. So I love the discoveries that Kira has throughout the episodes, because it feels like I'm discovering these things with her and on the journey with her, rather than, oh, this is what's going to happen next and this is what's going to happen next. I like taking it as it comes. And
right. Kira actually, it seems like Kira is compassionate towards that Cardassian father figure much faster in season 3 than she was with the guy in Duet too.
But that's the progression.
Exactly.
In mind, this is a possibility that I'm wrong about this person. And so it does happen faster and deeper. And that's just such good writing. I was reminded, and I think it was this episode, when Avery throws the bag that becomes Odo behind him.
Yeah.
I remember, and it could have been another episode where he throws a bag, saving me. I'm not sure. But I would always say to Avery that I have no skills whatsoever in terms of eye-hand coordination. Mm-hmm. I can't catch a ball. I can't do anything. I have no instincts. And he could never believe it. And I think it was this episode that in one of the takes, he threw the bag to me and it hit me in the face. Because it's not my instinct to go like this. And he was so apologetic, but he was like, how can you not catch something that's being thrown at you? How is that possible? I just stand there.
With your arms to your side and just got hit in the face with a bag.
Yes.
Did it come at you in slow motion? Was you like, no?
He just couldn't believe that I was telling him the truth. So it was like, see? So when the baseball episode came up, everyone was sweating bullets that this would be the longest day's shoot ever because I'd never be able to hit the ball. So, yeah.
I didn't know you had no eye-hand coordination.
None. Absolutely not. I was the kid chosen last. If they could avoid choosing me at all, they could. Nothing there. Although now, after the baseball episode, they got me a baseball player for 2 weeks to teach me how to throw, how to hit. And I can throw a mean ball now. It took 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
It's not bad. Not too bad.
It's not bad. It's a little long there, Ryan. To throw a baseball.
Trying to be nice.
Woman, halfway, something closer to what he wanted, in a couple of days, but it took a long time.
Oh man, that's funny.
So we've got about 10 minutes left in this episode. Another quick line that we kind of covered was when Mr. Sisko says, Mr. Garrick, when Garrick says, I will not sacrifice my life for yours, basically. And Sisko says, Mr. Garrick, I believe that's the first completely honest thing you've ever said to me. And Garrick says, how perceptive of you, Commander. And then they kind of all just share a smile for like that moment. I was like, whoa, a happy moment on Deep Space Nine, even if it's through like a plastic smile, but
Yeah, an honest moment.
There's another thing you do, Nana, and I don't know if you do it like consciously or if it's just how you go, but there's really subtle things that are not verbal, just body language things. And one of the things is how you sit sometimes. For example, you were sitting in this episode on a little like sofa-like type thing, but you had your leg up and you were kind of with your arm on the back. And it's not the most ladylike, like, typical posture, with your back arched up and, with your legs crossed in a certain way. You're kind of laid out, chilling. And I kind of like that body language. It's a comfort that you have of your own self. And it's also not in the norms of, ladylike behavior type thing. Is that something you did consciously or you just?
Consciously. The way I ate was conscious because they, women in TV at that time or in film, you ate in between lines. You didn't want to look like you didn't have an appetite. You weren't ever hungry.
Right.
You were eating, and it was pretty. And I wanted to make sure that Kira had an appetite. She was hungry, and she didn't care so much what it looked like because she needed to eat. Right. That was important to me, and the way I sat was important. As a matter of fact, somewhere I saw someone who went, Kira had man spread. And it was
I was gonna say that. Yeah, that before there was a term for it, Kira was man spreading.
And that was deliberate. That was very deliberate. I was taking, when people put their arms on the back of a chair, that's taking ownership of the space. Yeah. And that it's almost aggressive. So and taking the space of a chair is kind of aggressive and also saying, I am very much grounded in here and ready to get up. If my legs are crossed, I'm not going to be able to jump across the room with you in case I need to. I always felt like I'm ready. And I felt that not only in that scene that you were talking to was I coiled like a snake, but I was also protecting what was inside because I was trying to get out of my physical self and protect what I knew to be true.
Yeah.
That's why I did that. I did that very much on purpose.
So the terminology is man-spreading? Is that, because I've missed that, guys.
Cirroc, don't pretend like you don't know man-spreading. No, no, it's certainly not from the 90s, but it's much newer. It's just kind of how I sit, sadly.
Well, yeah. What's annoying is like on the subway in New York, if a guy has man spread, his legs are on either side and pushing into your partition of the chair.
Or when you're in an airplane, come on, man. We have so little space, dude. You gotta help me out here.
Yeah. Pull it in.
Yeah, pull it in a little bit.
I always have to have somebody's furry arm touching mine in an airplane for some reason, and I don't.
Maybe not anymore.
That's true.
Now,
you're right.
We didn't get there yet, but eventually we're headed towards this Kira Odo relationship, right?
We got a hint.
We've been dropping hints.
We got our first hint, yeah.
Yeah. Were you cool with that? Them writing you and Odo together?
Now I am, because I see how it went, and also because it's not such a big trope. But back then, it was like such a typical thing. Couples who were friends, a man, woman, friends, there's sexual tension. There's always sexual tension. No one can ever just be friends. And I didn't like it because I thought it was typical to make it become a romance. I thought, oh, not this too. There were so many shows doing that. Let's go a surprising way and just have them love and support each other. But now that it's not such a thing, I can look at it and go, yeah, that was a real love story. And it makes sense to me that Kira would love someone that the outside didn't matter, but it was this inner person that she loved. And of course, the other thing is I got to work with Renee all the time, which I adored. So it worked out. I was happy for it. And in retrospect, it was exactly the right thing.
Yeah.
That's great. Melissa, how did you feel about the Kira and Odo romance?
I loved the Kira and Odo romance for all of those reasons, because they were such good friends, and yeah, there was a honesty to their friendship that was wonderful, and I loved the way Odo was with Kira and how he was a little bit softer towards her than everybody else, and I love the awkwardness when she finds out that he's got feelings for her, and that was authentic to me too. And then when they finally got together, I was like, yes, woo! I love these two, and I'm glad they're together.
Yeah.
So yes. I like
also the two characters who were most defined starting off in the show, like Odo start off and he was like, he knew what he was going to do with Odo. Didn't really change much. He was defined. And you were like, you were locked in from day one. So, you know, between you, Quark, and Odo, I think are the three characters that are the most defined right off the bat from the beginning.
Absolutely.
I see a lot of the other characters kind of like finding their way and trying to, you know, get better and learning, myself included. But I just felt like you were just nailing it out the park from right off the bat. No wonder they were like, let's write more episodes for Kira, because you were just delivering, you know.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you know, it's a good sign when Cirroc for, you know, over 2 seasons is saying, I want more Sisko. Man, there wasn't a lot of Sisko. I want more. But then when there's a Kira episode, he's like, Sisko who? This stuff is great.
It's true. It's true. I mean, there's not that much Sisko in the beginning of this show. He doesn't get like centric episodes where it's his storyline kind of on, you know, finding out more about himself. He's kind of the guy in the middle, like, you know, supervising here and there. But I felt like you got the most, like right off the jump, so many good centric episodes. For example, like the Mirror, you know, universe episode where you were evil Kira. And I love those kinds of just those performances. They're just dead on. So
thank you, sir. I have to say, after all those years of going, oh well, I did what I thought I should do. It's so nice to hear, and it like sinks in so deep. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's got to be validating, yeah.
It is.
Well, because it went so long without being valid. Like what year? We're in 2020 already. It's been.
That was 94. That was 94.
We're talking about 94, and she was killing it. And I'm like, where was the accolades? Where were the women's groups that said, hey, we want her to be the spokesperson for our company or our movement, or, you know, let's push her, let her endorse these products, or let's push her to, you know, there's so many things that they could have used you for and incorporated you for, you know, into, because you were doing so much that I thought, well, why wouldn't she be the poster girl for independent, strong women out there, you know, who know who they are?
No better time than now.
Yeah.
Now's the time. And I believe, Nana, you made the right point, which is, because I didn't know the answer until you said it, about what changed, why you got the accolades now that you didn't get before. I do think it's because of people seeing it with fresh eyes. A younger generation seeing it, and then people that maybe hadn't seen it for a while rewatching and being like, you know, I kind of like her a lot more than I thought I did. You know, I think you're right.
I remember the moment I was at a convention and a boy that seemed to be about 15 years old came up and said, "Oh my God, you're my favorite character." And I was like, what?
Wow.
A 15-year-old boy? No, that's not what usually happens. And right after that, I found out it was on Netflix, and people were able to binge watch it. But that told me a lot about his parents. That's like, yeah, that's a cool woman. That's a woman that you could, you know, think is dateable. It wasn't that. I was not the dateable one. I was not. There was
just ask Quark.
There was a producer, I'll never forget this. I came to his offices with the woman who was doing hair, in charge of hair, and she said to him, just to check out the hairstyle, doesn't she look pretty? And he said, no, she doesn't. But she doesn't need to be the pretty one. She's not the pretty one.
Wow.
That's
a low blow.
That's the world we were in back then. And I went, internally, ow, but yeah, that's normal. That's normal for me, for sure. So that's okay. And that on we went. So yeah, it's.
Well, for the record, you are the pretty one. You're pretty even in a Kardashian makeup, right, which is not easy to pull off, to be actually attractive in a Kardashian makeup.
Cirroc isn't going to be able to get out of my house now. Do you understand? I don't have to get out of my house now.
If I'm lying, I'm dying. I'm only telling the truth.
She's going to have to butter the sides of her head to squeeze through a door.
Oh my God. I can't get out.
I'm only telling the truth. Truth hurts sometimes.
Thanks.
Well, speaking of the truth hurts, we're out of time. I'm sorry to say, guys. We'll stop recording, but we're going to keep launching compliments at you, Nana, as soon as we're done recording here. But right before we go, super quick, we like to have Cirroc guess the IMDb rating on this episode. What do you think it was, Cirroc?
I would say this is around an 8. This is about an 8.2.
Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say probably around there, 8.3. I'm going to go with.
Nana, do you have a guess?
I don't. I don't know how to do that.
So the fans have rated this, right?
Well, all of IMDb. So fans and non-fans alike, probably mostly fans. Cirroc, I got to be honest, you killed it. It's exactly an 8.0.
Ooh.
Wow.
Straight up. 8.0. And big
which is the highest I think we've gotten so far, right? I think that's
at least in a while. The previous one was pretty low. What was that one? Equilibrium, I think.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
But big compliments to Robert Hewitt Wolf for really weaving this one in and out. Beautifully done. Really cool. Anyway, we do have to run. For those of you at home, stick around for the free-for-all. We got a really cool question for everybody that's kind of related to this episode. It's inspired by Nana's performance. So
by her second skin.
That's right. So thank you very much. Stick around for the free-for-all. We'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule free-for-all with Cirroc, Lofton.
Hello,
we also have Melissa Longo, Kat R. King, Carmen Shamwell, Homer Frizzell, also known as Commander Homer Frizzell. He named himself that. Dr. Marie Segal, and Rex A. Wood. How's everybody doing?
All right.
Doing good. I just noticed Kat has the shirt that says something about Earl Grey tea.
Yeah, this came in finally.
Ah,
Oh, good. Oh, that's so good. Great line.
No, said no Picard ever, but you know.
Said
And then
no
he did
Picard ever. All right, everybody. Heather Jordan's about to join, so let's pretend like we're just finishing up the question.
Okay.
That was a great question, right?
Oh, Rex, we can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, that's just what I think. That was just my opinion.
Oh,
And no,
that's
that is super controversial.
You're not allowed to
I
talk
know
about it.
that was probably the best question ever, you guys. Thank
That
you
was
all
pretty
very
good.
much.
I think on that note, we should end it on that.
Yeah, thank you all very much for joining us. The Seventh Rule, and we'll see. Oh, hey, Heather's here.
And Heather's here.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's Heather.
No, we're just about to start the question, and Dr. Anne-Marie Segal has what sounds like kind of a weird question, but the more you think about it, it's brilliant. So go ahead and hit us with it.
Well, first of all, I think the best actress of our free-for-all goes to Carmen. That was amazing. I was totally like, wait, did I miss a question?
Who is she?
Our up-and-comer.
Thank you.
Best actress. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that only because I have to moderate a live panel discussion later. So I am like putting myself into like full.
Oh, well, then Carmen also wins the Best Hair and Makeup Award.
Yeah.
Then it goes.
That is why. So
Gee, I thought you were going to give that to me.
Runner up?
Runner up.
Rex.
I'll take runner up.
Okay, so the question is, what's your favorite person who undergoes surgical alteration to become another species in Star Trek?
Oh,
Or,
Okay.
I said person, I meant
It's a
what's your
deep
favorite
cut.
character? What's your favorite character who undergoes surgical alteration to be something
It's a
else?
deep cut. Just like in this episode, Major Kira becomes a Cardassian. So today's question is, who's your favorite character doing trans-species cosplay, basically?
Yeah.
I know.
Got
Okay,
it.
we're starting with you, Rex.
oh, sexy
So
Rexy.
Ready? Here we go.
Sexy Rexy.
James Kirk as a Romulan.
Oh,
Love it.
Yep.
Oh, this is the golf clap. Sorry.
Enterprise incident.
beautiful, beautiful.
With
Oh,
the
Anne-Marie,
cloaking device.
do you have an answer, Anne-Marie, or did you write down all of our answers?
I didn't write down all of our answers. I mean, first of all, there's so many, but I think my number one favorite is Sisko as a Klingon.
Oh,
He
That's
just
a big
really
win.
shines.
What did you like about it?
Attitude. He just is really, it really brings out his over-the-topness, especially when talking about like blood wine. He's just fabulous as it.
Yeah.
Right, I remember the line he says he doesn't say blood wine, he says blood wine.
Of course.
Right? I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah, can you say that as Worf?
Blood wine.
Yeah, Worf is also there. It's so fun
Yeah.
seeing them hang out as
He's
Klingons.
he's always more pouty than all the other Klingons.
Oh yeah, Worf is so emo.
He's a powder.
Klingon.
He's emo Klingon, yeah.
So,
All right, Heather.
If Worf was a Smurf, then you would be Pouty Smurf.
Right? Grumpy Smurf.
It would be
Grumpy
so.
Smurf.
Grumpy Smurf.
What do you
Somebody
think,
go up
Heather?
to Michael Dorn and tell him he's a pouty Klingon. I
Nope.
just want to do that.
Yeah.
No.
You can do it before we can.
That's right.
In your Crusher
I see
yoga
what we've done.
leotard.
That's right.
Heather, do you have an answer for us? I know it's
You
a
know,
tough
I
one.
have two, but I don't know if I should say both or not.
Sure.
Say
both. Both.
Okay, so the thing that popped first in my head was Deanna Troi when she was, I think it was a Romulan.
Right.
Member of the Tal Shiar.
Yeah.
And at the
I'm-
very end, when she goes like this, and she goes,
oh, when she gets back to her normal
Yeah,
self,
she goes-
yeah. And that popped in my head, but of course, I have to give props to Ash Tyler because I mean he was embedded so deep, and that's probably one of the only times we saw it the other way around, where some like another species. I mean, we did see it on Voyager a little bit, but you know, him coming into the Federation and being a human, that was pretty.
well, I think technically that was Voq being a human, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Is he originally a Klingon, I think?
Yes, but
Okay.
was there then originally an Ash Tyler and they kill him and take his body? Was that how
I
that worked?
think so,
There
yeah.
There was originally an Ash Tyler, but
Okay.
they surgically altered Vogue to look like Ash Tyler.
Yeah, I think they had to, like, I don't know, kill
From
Ash Tyler, though.
within.
I think so, too.
Oh, yeah. And then he was, like, tortured. It was way worse for the Klingon. Like, becoming Ash Tyler was torture for the Klingon.
Heather, is that a new
like,
mic? You sound good.
Yes, it is. It's weird. My green screen, like, hides it. It's kind of funky. But
All right, Carmen Shamwell, do you have an answer for us?
My God, you with my government name again.
Stop giving out that info, man. Just call it Carmen.
Carmen S.
So I've got two. Number one is Neelix as a Ferengi.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah,
so good because he was so excited, you know, and he did it so well, and it was that's just a hilarious episode. Although that is the episode where my boyfriend we're binging. We actually just finished. He finished 25 years of Star Trek 2 days ago.
And now he's like in the other room, kind of like coming down from the high.
Oh, he's coming home from work. But yeah, so that was the episode, incidentally, that he actually almost gave up on all of Star Trek. He's like, I'm never watching this show again. Because of how it ended with the two Ferengi getting through the wormhole and whatever. But yes, Felix is number one, and number two is Chief O'Brien as a Klingon because he was so uncomfortable and it was so funny that whole time.
That's what we said. That's what we said earlier. He was just that poor
he's
guy.
Just, and it's like he's
doesn't
been as a character through so much, and it's like to see kind of like Odo's like, okay, whatever, and Sisko's like, yeah, and then Chief O'Brien is like, more blood wine. Like, so yeah, that's,
and they gave him the worst teeth too.
I know. So
that's a good one.
That's a great one. I love the meta-ness of like Neelix. Obviously, it's a person playing Neelix, and then Neelix being a Ferengi because he had been a Ferengi in TNG.
Exactly.
But like in Voyager, they make it so that it's sort of like it's a person playing Neelix playing a Ferengi. It's so great, and I just love it because he looks different when he's whatever.
Sounds like Tropic Thunder. Mr. Commander Homer Frizzell, any thoughts?
I have lots of thoughts, Ryan.
Narrow them
on this
down.
particular topic. What had come to mind was Kirk is a Romulan, but Rex took that. And then I was thinking of Picard as a Romulan when you have, I think it's unification, not positive on the episode. But what I'm actually going to go with, and I don't remember the name of the character, but Klingon to human in The Trouble with Tribbles.
Good one.
Oh, guy. Yeah, dude.
And then in Child.
Yeah, dude.
That was dude.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was dude.
Commodore dude or
Master dude.
Raven or
He was the assistant dude.
Yeah, I remember reading. I was actually reading that just the other day because I was taking a quiz. And that was one of the questions, or actually it was in an episode, Trouble with Tribbles came up, and I remember reading that guy's name.
Huh. The dude?
The Tribbles said it. The Tribbles got set off by him.
Yeah, assistant dude.
Assistant to the dude.
Right.
Kat R. King.
I'll find it.
Do you have an answer for us, Kat?
Hey, Tuvix.
Tuvix. Oh, okay.
Who's Tuvix?
Accidental.
Thinking outside the box.
Does that count, though? Does it count?
Count. I mean, no.
She's allowed to bend the rules. It's creative.
Yeah, bang, bang.
Do you not remember Tuvix, Carmen? Or who said Tuvix? Or
Cirroc didn't know.
Cirroc said, sorry.
Cirroc.
Yeah.
Tuvix was this hideous mix of Neelix and Tuvok.
So
that Janeway hated so much she just killed him.
Also, one of Voyager's, I would say, top 20 episodes that just kind of like it brought up a lot of really good like ethical questions, but it was a transporter accident, kind of like when
with a plant
Guinan got caught and whatever, and
like in Rascals, yeah.
And then Janeway had to make a decision whether to split them up, but Tuvix wanted to retain his autonomy. He had this whole rousing speech at the end. It was actually really, really good.
Still to this day, people talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, Janeway's like, nah.
She's like, sorry, I like the other guys better. You're dead.
Yeah.
Melissa, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with Kira as a Cardassian.
Nice.
That was like
My obvious choice.
Topical.
Pointed at, she doesn't get nearly the accolades she deserves. So, Kira as a Cardassian.
And a gorgeous Cardassian at that.
She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd find myself finding a Cardassian attractive, but
what about Garrick?
There's a first for everything. Yeah, not my type exactly, but he's a very handsome guy.
He's more like a Demar kind of a guy.
Mine is I picked Tim Russ as a Klingon. I liked him as a Klingon.
That was a good one.
Oh.
Okay.
That would have been my second choice.
DS9 episodes. I thought he was pretty good in that one.
Yeah, he had like beautiful flowing hair.
He's played 3 different races in 3 different series.
Yeah, he reminded me of Shonuff in The Last Dragon. If for anybody that knows that movie.
Oh, of course.
I just know Enter the Dragon.
Shonuff.
Who's the master?
Oh, Shonuff. Carmen knows what I'm talking about.
Anybody else?
Oh, and
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. Oh, well, if you look up The Last Dragon, Shonuff, you'll
it's
get
it's iconic.
It's an iconic character, yeah.
They're also sponsoring Seventh Rule.
Oh, okay.
No, isn't that the oh gosh, what's your drink, Ryan? Now it didn't work when I can't remember.
La Croix.
Shasta?
That's it.
Shasta. Fanta. Hey, here's what I got here. Macduff, the Sataran.
Oh, that's so fun.
On the Conundrum episode of Next Generation.
Oh, so creepy.
Right? Because he was cosplaying a human, I guess.
Yes.
Wow.
That's an amazing answer.
Deep cut.
Thank you. And special mention goes to the fish lady, the turtle monster, and the Cro-Magnon in Genesis.
Yes.
Oh.
Wow, yeah.
The Rock's like, I gotta watch Next Generation. Let's go.
Yeah, this is the fish
so
lady.
Good.
Like which fish lady? They're
Deanna Troi becomes a fish lady.
Yeah, but she's also got mojo going on.
Actually, she's an amphibian, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mojo.
She's abnormally attracted to people in that episode.
Huh.
She gets
specifically Worf. Wasn't it Worf, I believe? That she was pheromones was the issue. But I think it was with Worf.
And he bites her.
Oh.
Well, we only have a few minutes left in this one. This was a really good question. But I do want to say, Cirroc, you get to pick a winner. Who gave the best? I know. This is the fun part.
Did we get a prize?
Who gave the best answer?
The thing is, he doesn't know how good yours is.
Oh,
That's okay. I don't need to.
I'm going to pass my pick to Anne Marie. I'm going to let her decide who the winner is.
Oh, I thought I was the winner because I said a Sisko. And it's going to Ryan because I love the Macduff episode.
All right.
Yeah, just because his name is Macduff, it's just so funny.
We never found out what his real name was as the Sataran, though.
I know. That's the tragedy of it all. Probably in a book.
That's the tragedy.
It's so funny every time you guys bring up like anything. Every single character in every single episode evokes like this memory from like the 90s.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying like I didn't say that to really mean anything. It's just so funny. You think of Macduff and I think of my mom shouting, "Who the hell is he?" And of course, because this is like the 90s, we can't rewind it.
Yeah. Totally.
I have a question. Does Odo ever play an alien?
Well, he's
like,
he's a Klingon.
He's a rat.
Episode.
Well, yeah, he's in a Voyager episode. And he's a different.
Wait, you mean if Odo ever is an alien?
Yeah, he was when he was a human, he was a Klingon in that same episode as Sisko was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, but I mean, has Odo himself ever transformed himself into another
Oh.
alien species to kind of blend
Well, he's been a rat.
A rat?
Yeah.
That's I
Remember
had that
the
as my
acting
first
of that
answer.
rat?
Yeah.
I knew you would.
But he hasn't played. He
That's
never
right, the
like
Hawk.
said, "Let me be a Boolean," or
I don't think so.
It
He
was
wasn't good
really,
with
it's
faces.
too
Master
difficult
faces.
for him.
He
Like
couldn't
to
master
learn.
faces. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I want to say honorable mention to that lady in the Wesley episode where Wesley has his first girlfriend. They're eating chocolate pudding, and he has some weird like nanny who's looking after him who becomes a humongous Care Bear.
That throws Worf.
Gosh, yeah, that's great. That's our honorable mention.
Why
one.
does that sound like a nightmare?
It's amazing.
Mention to Kate Vernon,
remember that
season
episode.
8472. Oh, I
Kate
guess
Vernon.
Totally. There's just so many when you start thinking about it. It's total
There's a
Star
lot.
Trek trope, and I love it.
All right. Final thoughts, Homer and Rex.
I liked Rex's answer.
Mm-hmm.
I liked my answer too.
me too.
Yeah. There are no losers here. Everyone
No,
gave
there are.
wonderful
Although,
answers, and
I do wish
we're all
you had
super
seen
great.
Nog more.
all winners.
Nog,
Wow.
not cross species, because Nog was so good as a Kazon in Voyager.
Right.
Oh, I have another question for you guys. In this Second Skin episode, they mentioned the Obsidian Order, and I kept saying to myself, I heard this Obsidian Order. Where in the new Trek is the Obsidian Order being mentioned?
Nowhere in New Trek.
It's not.
Nowhere
Because
in the new Trek.
They're not.
No.
They haven't touched
It must have been
Cardassians
name
yet.
dropped, right?
Maybe we'll get that Section 31 thing crossover
Are you-
eventually.
Are you
Right.
saying New Trek as in Disco or Picard?
I think
Either
he means
one.
both.
Both.
Neither
Oh,
one of
wait.
them mentioned the
Yeah, it's
Obsidian
weird.
Order.
It could have
No.
been name dropped so easily in Picard.
So
Since,
where
obviously
have I
Garrick
heard the
was
Obsidian Order?
gardening
You
for the
probably
Romulans.
heard it when Andy Robinson was on.
Yeah. Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
The Cardassians, the
Probably.
Cardassians probably aren't established really in Disco. And I think season 1 of Picard and season 2 are going to be wildly different in that they were really just trying to establish character in season 1. So I get why they didn't bring up a bunch of stuff, but they could delve into whatever they want.
Plus, it was all about the Romulans and the synthetics, so they already had
Right.
two things.
But,
But was this about? Is this
Romulan
like the
gardener.
Tel Shiar? Are they like the Tel Shiar?
Yeah,
It's
except
like-
I think they're better.
Or secret.
Obsidian Order
Gosh, right?
kind of
They were like-
died out. The Obsidian Order died out
Hmm.
at the towards the end of Deep Space Nine. So
Yeah, they really have a
The
low
Obsidian
point.
Order never dies out,
Just went
Major.
underground.
Obsidian Order.
Well,
They're
We
just quiet.
lie about
just
dying.
they lie about dying out. I like that
That's
one.
right.
Hiding.
Oh, nice
Hiding.
mark, Cirroc. I love it.
Oh yes, thank you very much. A little shout out.
very nice mug.
So does the
Abyssinian
Central
kiosk.
Command take order from the Obsidian Order, or does the Central Command outrank?
No, they're kind of
Obsidian
rivals.
They're like
I
this.
think
It's kind of like the
Obsidian Order
spy
really
agency
stands for-
versus
Oh,
the
yeah.
military government.
It's like the CIA versus,
The NSA or something?
Or the-
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
government.
more like Black Ops, or like Black Water.
Mm.
Like
Section
It's the
31
secret
in
government
Starfleet.
thing that the government doesn't acknowledge,
Okay.
All right, guys, we got to run.
don't exist.
You'll learn a lot more about.
Do you
the
really
Obsidian
have
Order.
to run or just walk slowly?
I mean, really, just end the recording. I'm just gonna still sit on my McDuff.
Sit on my McDuck.
Thank you, Rex.
Thank you, Rex.
I do want
Hey,
to
I
say
set up that joke.
thank you. Yes, and you told it well.
Very
Special
good,
thanks.
very
Special
good.
thanks to Yvette Blackmon, Rex A. Wood, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, Anne Marie Segal, Carmen S., Rob Hoffman, PJ Thomas. Special thanks to Kat R. King and Heather Jordan, Malissa Longo for joining us. And
Melissa Longo for joining us. And
Whoa,
an echo.
I heard an echo.
wow.
I'm hearing it too.
Anyway, thanks all very much. And always remember the 7th rule.